Yeah. I sort of the rule of thumb is that my company generated generally like $200,000 per head count in revenue. And so when we were 45 head count, we were roughly about a $9 million run rate business.
Hey guys, some of you thought about starting their own accounting firm, and I wanted to bring someone here on the channel that can talk to you about their experience starting an accounting firm and scaling it to a level of revenue that's 7 figures, so you can learn from them how they started the firm, what kind of profitability you'd be looking at, what kind of challenges, things that they have done. So without further ado, let's jump right in. All right, Joe, so my audience are interested in learning about starting an accounting firm. You started and sold an accounting firm, so you're the right person to speak to.
Great.
Can you give us a bit of background? Did you start out in accounting? Did you start out with something else?
Yeah, for sure. No, happy to, and thanks for having me. So my background's a little bit atypical. I actually started, I went to school for engineering. And then out of engineering school, I found my way into more like corporate finance. So I worked at Goldman Sachs and another bank, really doing kind of the adjacent to the controller work. So building budgets, headcount reporting, financial analysis, those types of things. And so built up a bit of a skill set there. And I say I always had always wanted to start my own business, but never really had an idea good enough. And so looking kind of at my skill set, I said, hey, I've developed a little bit of a skill set here and something that a lot of early stage companies were looking for sort of higher quality finance and accounting support. So in 2017, launched a company called Calculate to provide that higher level, higher quality finance and accounting support for early stage companies.
Okay, and to give the viewers a scale of Calculate, so the firm is called Calculate. The scale of the firm is after 7 years, how many headcount have you scaled it to?
Yeah, so started the company in 2017. By the beginning of 2023, we were about 45 headcount. So
45 headcount, okay.
Yeah, so we grew it, no external funding, just sort of like grew the business based on sort of the market and opportunities and sort of reinvestment.
Okay, and ballpark revenue, just so people can know. I know it's hard to ask people how much money they make, but ballpark revenue of 45 headcount, we're talking, I think you said somewhere close to 10 million.
Yeah. I sort of the rule of thumb is that my company generated generally like $200,000 per head count in revenue. And so when we were 45 head count, we were roughly about a $9 million run rate business. And so, sort of upper end of 7 figures.
Okay. And also to give the viewers out of the gate something that they can bite onto, when your firm is making $9-10 million with 45 headcount, what kind of profitability we're looking at?
Yeah, so generally like the market rule of thumb for a business like that is like 20 to 30% EBITDA margins generally. We were growing quickly and also investing in building our own software platform. So our margins without that sort of reinvestment were sort of in the mid-teens, higher teens. And then with that investment, sort of ate up the rest of our profits. We were sort of in the mid-single digits in terms of EBITDA margin. But generally, like rule of thumb, if you're growing at a modest rate, you should be producing kind of 20-30% profit margins.
20-30%, okay. And this is interesting because you said throughout the journey of an accounting firm, you've developed a software in a company that you've later spun off as a new business, which is what you're doing now. This is Amalgam, right?
Correct. Yeah, so within Calculate, we noticed that there's just a lot of manual effort that goes around closing the books and preparing the financials every month. So we actually built our own internal software that we spun out of its own company in 2022. We realized it was working so well for us that other folks could use it. And so spun Amalgam out as its own business then. And really the core of the product just reduces the time it takes to close the books every month. So you're not clicking around, downloading CSVs or having to manually input information into the general ledger. Amalgam facilitates that and ultimately allows you to spend less time on those manual work items.
That's awesome. So here in the channel, we talk a lot about tools, technology that can help you speed things up and close the books more fast and more accurate. So we'll do more at the end of the video on Amalgam because it's really interesting software that can speed up workflows and get the books closed faster and more accurately. So at the end, we'll talk about that. And for now, we're talking about a firm that reached a headcount 45. What would you say the customer acquisition for you was like? Was it like 50% referrals, word of mouth, and 20% advertising? Like what was it? What was it like?
Yeah. I really built a big referral engine, and so talking with and making relationships with the sort of folks who have the same clients that I do. So corporate and startup attorneys, larger accounting firms were great, other consultants, things to that nature who are working with the same client base I am. Obviously, existing clients who were happy were great referral sources, and those would come in. So, maybe over our lifetime, we signed 300 clients, and I would say maybe 5 of them were from sort of outbound exercises in terms of new business. Really, everything else was all referral, inbound new business.
Okay, great. What would you say? Another question that I get usually: hourly rates. What would you charge per hour if you have an accounting? Your firm provided both accounting and sort of FP&A functions.
Yeah.
Hourly rate wise, what did you start at? And when you matured the business, what kind of hourly rate could you charge?
For sure, yeah. So in terms of services, we were outsourced staff accountant, controller, CFO, tax team. So those were kind of the run of the services. In the very beginning, I mean, my low-end rates for sort of basic bookkeeping type work was $75 an hour. And then the higher end rates were sort of like $150 an hour. And then over our lifetime, we sort of doubled those. So the kind of low-end bookkeeping ended up being maybe $125 an hour, with the sort of higher-end strategic finance work being more like $300 an hour is sort of the hourly rates we have. We also did flat fees and stuff like that, but given a fast-growing client base and a sort of dynamic group of clients, we stuck mostly with hourly over our time frame.
Okay, awesome. Now, in terms of reward, in terms of running an accounting firm, beside the financial rewards, you run into cases where you've helped the client, either through an acquisition or through some kind of big event. Can you tell us a story where you helped someone, get through something like that?
Yeah. So I think like what's interesting about this space and doing this work is you're sort of like in the business working on the day to day. And a lot of times it can kind of be the same month to month, but then things do materialize and pop up. So I actually think of my first client, which is a recruiting firm. I had a relationship with them previously, and then they became my first client. And we did work for them for years, and just sort of the monthly close and budgeting and things of that nature. And then they decided that they wanted to exit the business and sell. And you kind of go from kind of monthly controller into strategic M&A CFO. So, help them through diligence, help them build projections, help them build the story for what they're telling on the financial side of the business to their potential buyers.
Yep.
And so, yeah, super fun project. Got to do a handful of those, but I thought that was an interesting one of just like a really simple early client that we ended up helping.
Okay, that's awesome. So to recap, Joe, with an engineering background, right? Engineering degree, worked in corporate finance for 8 years after that, started an accounting firm, an outsourced finance and accounting services firm in 2017, Calculate, and sold it in 2022 or 23?
23, yeah.
Sold it in 23. At exit, the firm was about 45 headcount and 7 figures, close to 10 million in revenue, with about, somewhere, and I think you mentioned that spectrum, because you were investing in an internal software, profitability could range between, somewhere between 10 and 30% in that range. So Joe mentioned also that you've spun off or created a software, Amalgam, throughout this process. Tell us a little bit about Amalgam, because we're always interested in tools that can improve our accounting processes. And then what we'll do is we'll put a case study toward the end of the video. Great. If you guys are interested, we'll put the link to Amalgam down below and a case study on something you can do with the tool toward the end of the video.
Yeah, great. So we built Amalgam mostly to help automate and streamline the work we were doing around the monthly close process and producing financials. So it was a great tool for us. And in 2022, we realized that we could sell it to other folks and they could benefit from it as well. So we spun it out as its own company. And over the last couple of years, it's been a great product. Our largest customer is over 300 users. We have dozens of other customers, really no turnover. There's really high retention of the product, so it's liked. But no one's really ever stepped into kind of like building a proper sales function and building a proper customer support function. So I've stepped into that since departing Calculate earlier in 2024, and it's been really great. Like continuing to spread the word and get more users on the platform, and being able to save a lot of time around it takes to close books on a monthly basis, produce financials, and really eliminating those non-value add processes.
Cool. So like, I'll describe it in a way that I understand it, and you can correct me.
Yeah.
It sounds like, so Amalgam is a tool that can connect multiple sources of data together.
Yeah.
So that's how you cut down on the time it needs to close, by connecting. So like, if you have e-commerce data from selling on Shopify, and you have information coming in through credit card, bank account, other data sources, you connect all that together with your accounting software so that you can reduce the time to close.
Yes, exactly. Being able to pull those different disparate data systems in, being able to consolidate it, and then on the back end, being able to actually connect directly with my general ledger. So taking the source data that you talked about, and then being able to produce, let's say, my monthly journal entry that includes my gross revenue, net revenue, my inventory and COGS, being able to have all that. So I don't even have to log into my QuickBooks or NetSuite to produce my monthly close journal entries.
Awesome. Okay. So looking forward to showcasing a case study at the end of the video. And I appreciate the interview, Joe.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Awesome. All right.
So we're talking Amalgam. This will be a crash course where you get to understand what it does and how it functions in just a few minutes. So first thing, I've opened up a plain Excel sheet here. You can do the same with Google Sheets. On the top right in the formula bar, we've got our Amalgam icon, which you've installed through just the add-ins here that you find through Microsoft Excel. But right now, I've just loaded the Amalgam toolkit on the right. You can see we've got two elements. We've got resources and we've got reports. Reports is sort of the download only side of things. So if I wanted to take a system like Stripe, per se, we can run the balance transactions out of Stripe, and I can see all of the different information once I get that going. On the left is some settings. For here, it's just a start date, end date, so I can set a date. Here I'll put September 1st, but I also can link to other pages. So on my first tab, I have a dates tab. I can link that right to there. It's just in Excel. So if I hit run report, this will link with Stripe and it will download my data for use, and I can do whatever I want. I can pivot this, I can edit it, delete it. I also have some fields over to the left if I wanted to have some certain formulas. I can have formulas here that can give me different analysis or whatever I want to do. And if I ever come and rerun a report, I don't lose that data. That's there for me. So I've got some data from Stripe, and what I want to do now is I want to load that up into my general ledger. I can do that through one of the resources. So if I click on resources, I can select QuickBooks. Here's all the different things I can edit. We'll go to the journal entry tab, and I'll use my fake company ABC widgets. You saw there different things financially, invoices, expenses, bills, all of that kind of stuff. We can also edit non-financial transactions like chart of accounts and things to that effect. So now I have my template. I can go ahead and set my date 9-30-2024, and then I can sum up right here, use formulas to pull information from Stripe. Now this might not make total sense. I'm just showing this as an example, but this will be for sales. You can see that's negative. I'll just change that for us. Here we go, a little formula change, easy peasy. I can also sum up other fields and just creating a journal entry, right? We're gonna get some debits and credits here. We wanna pull in our fees to make sure we're pulling those in. I'll select the fees account. So this is links directly to my QuickBooks account. These are all the accounts there. So I'll say commissions, and then I'll do the difference to make sure that I balance. And that can just be my clearing account. And I'll just do a little test JE can be our description. So I have that. If I wanted to add other information like customer, vendor, class, location, all of those things are there. I can say this class is for corporate, or this is for product, things to that nature. If I scroll over to the left, I can see it looks at the status as being new, and it suggests my option is to upload. So if I hit upload update, this will go connect with QuickBooks, ensure all the information is correct and there's no errors, and it will post that journal entry right into QuickBooks. So there you see it get posted. So it's a great quick view of what's capable with Amalgam. This is one example with journal entries. You can see there's dozens of other things we can do, from changing chart of accounts to loading invoices. I can run reports from P&Ls across different systems like NetSuite and Intact. I can pull bank transactions from Plaid, Shopify, and various other systems. But that's a quick crash course on what Amalgam does, how it functions, and if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. Thanks.